We're going to talk today about crime and deviance, which is in Chapter 1. First, we're going to define criminology. Criminology is the scientific study of deviant and/or criminal behavior. The objective of criminology is to determine the extent and distribution of crime in society, as well as the origin, cause, and explanation of criminal and deviant behavior. I want you to pay attention to both deviant and criminal behavior because those two concepts are not the same thing. Criminal behavior is any behavior that violates the criminal law. So the statutes passed by the legislature, made into law, that define what is right and wrong according to our justice system. Deviance is any behavior that violates social norms, and social norms are customary ways of doing things. Although criminologists are concerned with all types of deviant behavior, their primary interest is criminal behavior, or behavior that violates laws and is subject to punishment. Now, what you need to know is that not all deviant behavior is criminal, and not all criminal behavior is necessarily deviant. So I have a figure to explain what I'm trying to tell you. If you look in Circle 1, it has crime, and in Circle 2, it has deviance. Well, under crime, we have things such as underage drinking, marijuana smoking, white-collar crime. Now let me ask you, how many of you actually had a drink of alcohol before the age of 21? Now, it is criminal because it is against the law, but my question is it deviant? Does it violate social norms? Research has shown that most teenagers have had alcohol. Therefore, underage drinking is not deviant, but it still remains criminal. Now, where the two circles overlap, that is reflective of behaviors that are both criminal and deviant. We tend to see violent crimes, crimes that are well known, crimes that people strongly disavow, such as murder, rape, and theft. So my challenge to you is to fill the third arrow. What behaviors are deviant, which violate social norms, but are not criminal? So we need to talk about our understanding of deviant and criminal behavior and how it gets termed or labeled that way. As you see there in the first bullet, there is nothing that is intrinsically deviant or criminal. And all of this is because of something called symbolic interactionism. So symbolic interactionism refers to our needs as human beings to express and infer meaning. The construction of meaning is the essence of humanness. Our language, our laws, they all convey meaning. The construct of meaning is actually the most powerful thing that humans can do. How we do this is through something called social audiences. So when I say there is nothing that is intrinsically deviant or criminal, that is to say there is nothing inherent in any behavior that makes it criminal. The essential ingredient that makes something criminal or makes a behavior be considered a crime is the meaning that is assigned to that behavior, and the meaning is assigned by a social audience. There are typically, when it comes to crime, what we call formal social audiences. And formal social audiences are actually groups of people who are constituted for the purpose of assigning meaning and are empowered to do so and have sanctions associated with their meaning. So in regards to the criminal justice system, what would be some formal social audiences? Some examples would be juries, all of the courts, police, legislatures, voters. And if you think about trials are just a contest over meaning. They're a contest over meaning, and they have actually two formal social audiences. One is the prosecutor and one is the defense attorney. They are debating the meaning of a particular behavior. The defense attorney is trying to get the jury or the judge to view the behavior as not guilty, where the prosecutor is doing the same but trying to get them to see the behavior as guilty. So meaning is actually a selective representation of a perceived reality. What that means is constructing meaning is variable, problematic, and debatable. So all meaning is contestable. Different people will have different meanings and give different meanings to the same act, the same circumstances, the same situation, and or the same behavior. Another way of saying this is that meaning is variable. It depends on who is assigning the meaning. People who have different circumstances and different experiences will have different meanings for the same situation. For example, when I teach this class on ground at ETSU, test day is typically very stressful for the students. But for me, it's actually a day off because I don't come to class when I give tests. My graduate assistant administers the test and I don't have to be there. So it's the same situation, it's two different meanings, and those meanings are different based on our experiences. So crime itself is highly contestable and has a variable meaning, which means it differs across time and space. Definitions of crime depend on the social context in which they were developed. Examples would be prohibition. The consumption of alcohol was illegal for everybody. In the 80s, if you were under the age of, or if you were between the age of 18 and 21, you could drink beer and wine legally. You could not have liquor until over the age of 21. Once then, in the late 80s and the early 90s, you could not have any alcohol until you were over the age of 21. The definition of what was legal and illegal in regards to alcohol has changed over time. Also, another example, selling marijuana and other drugs is actually legal in the Netherlands, but it remains illegal here in the United States. Now, it is becoming legal in certain jurisdictions, and that has caused a lot of problems because it is still federally illegal. So, for example, Colorado, the state has ruled that selling marijuana and consuming marijuana is legal, but it still remains that smoking marijuana, consuming marijuana, selling marijuana at the federal level is illegal. That's why people in Colorado who make money off of marijuana cannot put that money in federally insured banks.